The 2012 Team Masters Grand Championships live on Extra Frame online bowling channel from Grand Central Terminal in New York, New York. Brought to you by Ebonite. Bowl to win. For more information, visit www.ebonite.com and by Dexter. Also by Kegel, official lane maintenance program of the 2012 Team Masters. And welcome back to Grand Central Terminal in New York, New York. Mike J. Laneside and the bowling guy Jason Thomas and the third member of our crew. It's a three-time member of Team USA, Elise Bolton, with our contestants for the next match. Elise.
All right, I'm with two guys that have had both had a match today, but this match is completely different than any. It's life or death. After this match, one of them goes on and the other one only has a chance for third or fourth. So what are your thoughts going into this match?
Well, I'm just going to have to make good shots and make my spares and see what happens.
Same thing, just got to make good shots, and it's up to that.
All right, now I know you and your coach probably went after your break and had a game plan. What's your game plan?
Spin to win.
What about you, Cameron?
That is exactly my plan, spin to win.
All right, well, we'll see them spin to win in this match. Back to you, Mike.
All right, thanks, Elise. As we move forward here, not a lot of information granted by the fellas, but it is a serious business, as the winner has a shot tomorrow, and the loser of this match is only going to fight for third or fourth.
We do have seating down both sides of the lanes. Please make yourself comfortable, settle in. This is a best of two match. If one of the bowlers wins two games, the match is over. If they tie 1-1, we go to sudden death and get the winner. Let's give them a round of applause. Good luck.
And there's tournament founder and manager director Gary Beck. And we are off with the next best of two matchup. 0-1 apiece for Kamron Doyle and Greg Young. Doyle will lead off here. Best of two from Grand Central in New York. And a pocket shot for Doyle, and we're off and rolling here. Evening session of matches. Each player lost their opening match. Kamron Doyle was defeated by Aaron Uratovich in a sudden death roll-off. And Greg Young was defeated by Jacob Ettinger after going 1-1. They went to sudden death roll-off, and Ettinger picked up the points. So each player's in precarious situations here at 0-1, needing a win desperately for a shot to move to the Grand Championship Finals tomorrow. Whoa, interesting path to the pocket as Greg Young and Kamron Doyle each open with strikes.
Yeah, we're on the short pattern again, and these guys were pretty coy in their pre-match interviews and talking about how they're going to spin to win, which I think is a reference to how they're going to put a lot of tilt on the ball this match.
It's Doyle Young in a best of two matchup here. This is game one, strike apiece. Look at the style of Doyle. And a double and a little head bob, a little beaver bob at it. Mike J. Laneside with the bowling guy Jason Thomas, now joined by Aaron Uratovich, who dispatched Mr. Doyle in an exciting sudden death roll-off. Welcome back to Extra Frame.
Thank you. This is going to be the best match of the night, I think. It's going to be funny, and there's going to be, this is it, really. Whoever loses doesn't really have a chance, and whoever wins still has life. So it's a pretty important match, but, it's the two, I think the two best players are coming down in this match.
Quality doubles from both players.
Well, I'm really impressed because Kamron had a really good look in practice. He looked really comfortable. Greg hasn't seen the short yet, and I think he hit the head pin about 3 times in practice. So to see him come out and double is really impressive.
So doubles apiece. Not a lot of time wasted here. A spin to win is the theme. Doyle up. Classic pose. Waist high with the rock. Here he comes. Rides the rail, comes up short though with the bucket. Don't sell yourself short, Mr. Uratovich. You've got a tilt coming up at 7 Eastern time with Jacob Ettinger. You guys are both 1-0 with a chance to go on the other side of the coin and go 2 up and a little easier night's sleep tonight.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I mean, winning the first match was pretty big against Kamron because I mean the first match really, if you can win the first match, you have two more chances to just get there, and that's why the first match it was so important, and that's why this is such a big match now. And I don't think that Open is really that big of a deal for Kamron. I mean he was pretty anxious and pretty angry to bowl this match, so I think he's going to be pretty tough.
So open frame for Doyle. He's 54 through 3. Greg Young opens with a double. And we are in game 1 of the best of 2. If the players split the 2, we'll have another sudden death roll-off. We're 4 for 4 at sudden death so far. Let's look at the style of Greg Young. That one gets away. 5-pin on the cross for Young. We are live at Grand Central Terminal, Vanderbilt Hall, just outside the main ticket area here at Grand Central. As you notice, the commuters, this is rush hour, 5 p.m. Eastern Time in New York. So if you're walking to the left, you're heading out to 42nd Street. If you're heading to the right, you're going into the main terminal. And if you're coming at us, you're competing in the Teen Masters Grand Championships.
Yeah, right out the door. There's people coming right at us. I mean, the whole match. When I bowled Kamron, I mean, there were babies crying and announcements and doors opening. I mean, there's all different kinds of things going on.
How'd you block it out? Or did you block it out?
Really, after the first 2 steps, I couldn't hear anything. I mean, there was a couple shots that my foot went, like, instead of keeping my feet straight, my foot kind of went off to the side, so I stopped. But after that, it's pretty hard to stop when you're that deep into concentration. So
you can see Doyle just kind of looking off as folks are being seated. Rush hour traffic here at Grand Central, 4th frame.
Well, that's the thing, you know. There's right off to the left side of the of the lane. There's 2 or 3 photographers in the whole match. All you hear is just taking pictures. So I mean, other than that, there's really nothing. But you could hear that the whole approach.
Game 1 of the best of 2. We're just underway. Mike J. Laneside with the bowling guy. And Aaron Uradovich, Grand Championships finalist, joins us. Elise Bolton is patrolling the sidelines looking for the next story here in New York City, Midtown Manhattan. Greg Young, double spare, working in the 4th frame. And we'll get a Wichita windmill and a reset here in the 4th frame.
Yeah, I think it looked like he cut off his push away a little bit, and it just went down, and if he threw that shot, it could have gone anywhere. That's something I've noticed about both of these players. They really get up, they get set, and they go. You know, it's really impressive. And, you know, me, myself, I get up there, take my time, you know, make sure my shoe's off, make sure I'm focused, but they just get up and go, and it's impressive. I mean, if I went that fast, I'd lose track of everything.
You know, I'm going to admit stealing something from Mr. Doyle. If you notice on the follow-through and the whip around, now he's got this little head flip thing.
Yeah.
I do that. I did it in the mirror this morning at the St. Giles Hotel, and I find myself, if I have a moment, if you just get a close-up here, just watch the style of Doyle and the follow-through.
Yeah, and, you know, his hair, I mean, he has to kind of get his hair out of the way, which, you know.
And he shakes the bucket, doesn't get the 2 to fall forward.
Yeah, it almost looks like the last when he bucketed, and that almost looked like approach issues, like he kind of came around it and just kind of, with his foot, just kind of stuck and slid around to the foul line. But he's definitely, I mean, I would consider him the favorite in this match because he's seen the short pattern.
And it's interesting for us to be here as we collaborate with Gary Beck in the Teen Masters program, the PBA, and we normally cover the pro bowlers, and it's exciting to be here. It's exciting to see the next generation of players.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I mean, you're giving, you know, all kids want is to be noticed, so you're actually, you know, giving us exposure, and I mean, that's really all we can ask for.
Oh, that one slides wide, and now 2 open frames for Doyle and a single pin miss.
Yeah, that one didn't so much slide by, Mike, as not have enough left when it got down the lane. It hooked so early that it stopped.
I'm really surprised that he hooked at that spare. I've seen him hook at like 2 spares in like 100 games, so that's pretty surprising that he didn't just throw straight at it.
Greg Young, this is game 1, best of 2, 69 through 3 with a strike up. Can really put the hammer down here with a double. It is best of 2 though, and we have had 4 best of 2s and 4 sudden death finishes.
Yeah, if I had to put money on it, the odds are with another roll-off, so you never know. I mean, my thing is the first game is kind of anybody's because you're kind of uncomfortable the first game, and then game 2, I really think the better player kind of wins game 2. I mean, the first game you're kind of odd with the approaches, you're getting used to it, and then the second game, it really comes down to who throws it the best on the second game, and then the roll-off is tough.
Spare for Greg Young, the junior this year at Viera High School out of Viera, Florida. And Kamron Doyle isn't even in high school yet.
Yeah, he starts school Friday. So he goes home and starts school.
So the young man has become the youngest to cash in a PBA regional at 12. He cashed and highest finisher 14 at the U.S. Open. And now here he is competing for a $64,000.
Yeah, he's going to be, when he's about 60 pounds heavier and about 6 inches taller, he's probably going to be the best one out there. I mean, he's pretty close to the best one out there right now. I mean, his physical game is just so good. You never, other than maybe some issues at the line, with maybe his foot whipping around, you never really see any issues with him.
And you see just off to the right there, Dad in the white T-shirt, that's Sean Doyle. There he is, popping in the frame.
Yeah, I talked to Mama Doyle, Kathy, before we started, and she's nervous. Which, so is Sean, but, keeping the serious face on.
Game 1, best of 2. Young in command here in Game 1. He's working on a spare 6th frame, early double.
And when, going from the girls' match to this match, when you've got more rev rate and you miss left, the miss is even amplified because when you miss left it hooks, but when your rev rate is, 500, it's gone.
Invite you to follow the action on Twitter as well, hashtag Teen Masters. I know Ashley Dunn is out there tweeting, and you've got a Twitter handle, don't you?
Yep, at I think it's Bol Uratovich. I'm not sure. I tweet like once a week, so tweet me, I guess.
I'm a follower. I'm a Uratovich follower.
I think I was going to start doing some updates from the Teen Masters, so I might have to bowl and tweet.
It is legal in the PBA. Players are allowed mobile devices during competition.
Yeah, we during qualifying, I was doing the pin pal, and I'd tweet after every game, except the game that I shot 130. I didn't really want to tweet after 130.
It's a Doyle with a 6 count, and what the pros normally consider to be the toughest spare they shoot at.
The one thing that's going through his head right now is this is about his most hated spare ever. He told me that when he bowled the Tournament of Americas, he was 0 for 9 on this spare. So if he spares this, he might go kind of crazy.
No, doesn't get it on the outside. Inside information from Aaron Uratovich joining us, and he's preparing for a match coming up with Jacob Ettinger at 7 o'clock. What's your thoughts about your upcoming match?
Well, I talked to Jacob a little earlier, and he said, I mean, most likely he's going to pick long because that's what he's seen earlier. And he shot, what, 180, 2-0, 210, whatever. And I mean, I'm not really that concerned. I'm just going to try and stick with my game plan, kind of burn a little spot, and hopefully just be able to throw it to a little spot. But honestly, I would almost rather bowl on the long than the short. Because, you can kind of get a little right and mixer, if you've got some touch and there's kind of some hold. On the short pattern, I mean, you're just whipping it down there. So it'll be nice to just kind of finesse a match.
So Doyle 107 open through 7. Trailing by 40 here, 8th frame. Game 1.
And I think the Cyclone is the better option for him because I watched during practice and it kind of allowed him to skid it through the front and then it went. The Pursuit kind of just rolled and then kind of rolled out. So it might get through the front and maybe go through the pins a little better.
Hey, what do you think about the pace of this match? They don't seem to be taking a lot of time in between shots.
Well, yeah, that's what I talked about earlier. I mean, they just, there's nothing wrong with it. You do what you do, but they're going really fast, which, some people, that's what they do just to keep their mind off of things. So, maybe going fast helps them.
Young 127 through 6 strikeout can increase his lead with a double. Didn't like it. Comes up high 3-6-10 without the 9.
And it's kind of interesting because that big wall back there with Teen Masters on it, it's right at the back of the approach, and where the back dots are, there's about 6 inches to the wall. And normally I'm all the way behind the back dots. So it's kind of a, you kind of have to make sure that you don't speed up because you could go flying down the lane because the approach is a little short. I mean, my back was up against the wall, and I kind of had my feet, up against the wall just so I could, make my approach.
40-pin lead entering the 9th frame. Game 1, best of 2. Teen Masters Grand Championships preliminary rounds. Kamron Doyle, the number 1 seed, against Greg Young, the number 3 seed. Both players are 0-1, lost their opening matches, and must win if they'd like to stay alive and have an opportunity tomorrow to jump into the championship round of the boys division.
And this is really the tough thing because arguably they're the two best. Comparing to us what they've won, they are on paper the better bowlers, but it really stinks to have to see one of them. It stinks to have one of them go now, or at least this early.
Well, Doyle not having a good run here early, sprinkling open frames after an opening double.
And at this point, I just think he's trying to find, and it really surprises me because he had a really good look in practice. I mean, he could throw both balls; they were going through the pins good. It just surprises me that he's struggling as much as he is. Oh, God. Little trip 4.
Well, now it's time for Kamron to get lined up here for game 2.
Yeah, it'll be surprising to see what he does because he really, he had a really good ball reaction when he bowled me. It looks like he's trying to move way in. It looks like all the kind of, what was left of the hold, it looks like it's even gone. And, something that, it's kind of a little trick, but just kind of loft it over the front. I mean, even if you're playing, up 6-7, just kind of loft it over the front. Sometimes it can get it, through it more. But, but typically Kamron likes to just jump left a little bit. So we could see him move left and just kind of spin it to the gutter.
Yeah, the only problem I see with that is if he can get it back, it's not going to hit very hard.
Yeah, that's a tough thing on this pattern. It's tough to get stuff through the front and still into the pins. And that's with the 2 bowling balls, it makes it even tougher.
There it is.
Yeah, that was a really good example. It got through the front, but it just stopped.
And that's a look at the scoreboard. 152 for Kamron Doyle. Game already over. Greg Young going to take a 1-0 lead.
It'll be interesting to see what, if Greg tries something, because his ball reaction in practice just, wow, it looked really touchy. And, I was amazed that he started the match off with a double after seeing all of his shots in practice.
And, he's in big trouble. I think Kamron might be in big trouble because now Greg, he's in as deep as Kamron, and he can get the 10 out from there.
Yeah, and, it's kind of tough because, Kamron kind of has to pull from his experience. You move left and, kind of slow hook the lane and just kind of throw it to the gutter and hopes it gets the 10 out, or get a little straighter and just kind of throw it through the front. Personally, when I move farther left on these patterns and watch my ball hook that much in the front, it just scares me. So I try and get as far right as I can and just kind of boost my speed a little bit. But, him to me is completely different. So I could definitely see him trying to move in and just kind of slow hook the lane a little bit more.
Final score 216 for Young and 152 for Kamron Doyle. And tournament director Gary Beck.
That puts Greg Young ahead 1-0 in our boys match. If he wins this game, the match will be 2-0 and over. If Kamron Doyle from Brentwood, Tennessee wins, there will be sudden death roll-off. Let's give them a round of applause as they move into game 2.
That's the founder, Gary Beck, Team Masters program. And for folks just joining us, Aaron, it bears repeating limited ball choices for your strike balls. What did you have to work with?
You could choose a Pursuit or a Pursuit S. The Pursuit is asymmetrical and the Pursuit is symmetrical, and then you had a choice of, you could get a Cyclone really, and I think you could get any color, but the ball thing that we had was the gray one, and it made it really, really tough because, you know, it all comes down to, you know, the balls are pretty readable, but, you know, if you drill one wrong, or, you know, if you kind of take one out of play, you know, if you try and drill it for a certain condition, you know, it was really, what I tried to do was drill both balls to where I could use them on both patterns some way. And, you know, when we were in Cleveland, I had the Cyclone at 1,000 and I had the Pursuit at 2,000, so on the long I could kind of burn a little hole with the Cyclone and then after practice move in with the Pursuit. And on the short pattern it was weird because 1-2 didn't hook. I mean, it didn't hook as much as it should. So I had to play 5, so I pretty much, I said I Eugene McCune to the Pursuit up the gutter, or up around 5, and actually did really well the first couple of days. And then I actually threw the Cyclone. They kind of got tighter down lane, so I needed something that hooked a little more, and the Cyclone kind of read a little earlier.
Young game up, opening shot game. He drills it high flush, crushes the 4 pin.
And it's weird because pins are, they just fly really weird here. You know, you saw in my match against Kamron, I mean, I had a couple of little wiggle shaker 10s, and then Kamron actually sent a messenger. And I mean, I watched the videos of last year's Teen Masters Grand Championships, and I didn't see any pins being thrown, so I was kind of expecting, you know, a lot of corner pins. I mean, they fly. I mean, they move around here, so.
So Doyle down a game, spare. Second frame. Oh boy, crumbles the 2 pin.
And you know, other than throwing it right, that was actually a really good shot. He just kind of, you know, he's been getting the last couple ends, so that was pretty good for him. Just to, you know, it was lucky that he struck, but he kind of got the feel of, you know, throwing it right. So I think his next couple shots will be really good.
Young defeated Doyle 216-152 in the opening game of the 2-game match. Doyle needs to secure the second to buy a roll-off. The loser will likely be eliminated. Doesn't get the 4 to go on the high hit. Live at Grand Central Terminal, New York, New York. We're in Vanderbilt Hall. And this is live coverage of the Team Masters Grand Championships. We've got 12 matches of preliminary competition. 4 players on the boys and girls divisions. Each will bowl 3 matches. Top records move to the championship match tomorrow here in New York City.
Oh yeah, and everything you see on camera is about twice as big. I mean, I walked in and I was like, whoa. You know, everything, the lane actually looks smaller, but the grandstands look bigger, and just the hall looks really, really big.
Aaron Uradovich is a junior at Olathe East High School. And what are we looking forward to in the fall term?
Well, I get back Thursday night, and I'm bowling a tournament this weekend. And then I'm trying to figure out, I think the Teen Masters, the World Series is in November?
November 2 at
yeah,
South Point.
And that should be, hopefully we can get out to it, because that would be a really cool event. And then hopefully team trials in January. I'd really like to, you know, other than a couple minor issues, I've been throwing it pretty good, so hopefully I can go out to team trials and maybe, you know, finish high up in that.
Doyle on the double, and now washout and change for Greg Young.
And you know, that's the tough thing when you're bowling on this pattern. You kind of have to, if you can't get it right and get your hand really up the back of it, you have to move left and kind of spin it more. But when you get it too far right, it kind of hits a point of no return. And I think that's kind of what happened on Greg's last shot. He just kind of spun it a little too much and got it to the right, and it just didn't read the lane quick enough and just got through it too much.
So Young open, and advantage now Doyle, and will we see it again? Every match thus far, the first 4 have gone one way and then the other, and then to sudden death.
Well, it's funny because, you know, the first game is kind of whoever can get settled. You know, if you win the first game, you should feel pretty confident. And then the second game, I think you're both comfortable. Then it all kind of comes down to who watches the lane transition the right way and who makes the right move. I mean, you got to throw it good, of course, but it kind of comes down to, you know, who throws it the best the second game. I think the first game is that too, but it's so hard to get comfortable here.
Well, here comes Doyle, and here comes the head flip.
Oh yeah, when he starts walking back to his chair pretty fast, that's when you know he's feeling it.
Well, it's so much fun to watch him. He's 14, and yet he has the mannerisms of a professional bowler.
Well, it's funny because, I mean, it's really funny because you know, I hang out with him, and you know, he's immature and like a kid, but then, you know, you see him out on the lanes, and it's really impressive. I mean, he holds himself to an extremely high standard.
Bowling guy, here we go again.
Boy, what is it with Game 2? People that win Game 1 just can't get the job done in Game 2.
It's weird because, you know, Greg was kind of lost. Now I think it's just kind of getting amped up too much. I think he's just kind of throwing it through it. I think, and this is probably what his coach is telling him, just, you know, relax, slow down, keep your feet slow. I mean, in his first match against Jacob, I was talking with Craig, and Craig even told him, you know, when he 210'd after front 5, just take more time before your next shot, because I think that really, you know, affected his shot.
And now back-to-back open frames for Young. Doyle on a turkey, and now Doyle in the driver's seat here in Game 2.
Yeah, the 1-2-4, I hate that spare so much it's not even funny. I can miss that spare on demand, anytime, any pattern. I mean, whether I'm throwing it straight or hooking at it, you'd think it'd be really easy, but you can chop it so many ways, and you can hook by it, especially on the short pattern. I mean, when there's that much hook out there.
The PBA and the Team Masters have teamed up for the second straight year to bring you this great live coverage. For the second straight year, we're at Grand Central Terminal in Vanderbilt Hall, New York, New York. And Grand Championships action.
Everybody out there that didn't come bowl the event this year needs to come bowl the event next year, because this and Junior Gold are the biggest events of the year, and you know, you don't get a lot of chances to bowl for this much money, and really it's not about the money, it's about the experience. But this is such a good event because you kind of, especially with the 2 balls, you teach yourself how to work through problems, and you find new ways. You know, when you can't strike, you find new ways to strike, and you know, kind of get the job done. And it's such a good tournament.
Well, the bleachers are filling in and the commuters are filing by. We're at Vanderbilt Hall. 750,000 people a day use this facility, and many bowling fans are here, filling the stands, and many more are stopping by to catch a frame or two. In fact, if you look at the background on our down lane camera, every other frame, you see another group of faces, you see another group of people taking photos, and you see another group of people that are seeing bowling in a really unique venue.
Well, you never see somebody bowling outside of a bowling alley. You know, it's really unique to see somebody bowling in a train station. I mean, on one lane, and for this much money, I mean, it's kind of jaw-dropping. I mean, you don't see anything like this anywhere else.
Well, Greg Young is in a position that everyone that's won the Game 1 today has faced. Trouble in Game 2.
And I think for Greg, it's just keep his feet slow and kind of slow his tempo down a little bit. I think when he gets his tempo going, he kind of gets his hand around it kind of fast, and he kind of grabs it a little bit. And I think that's kind of why his last couple shots have been, other than the missing the head pin, I think, you know, when he misses, it's a 4-pin or a 3-6 instead of, you know, a 2-pin or a flat 10.
So way out in front now is Doyle, and I'll guarantee you he's already thinking about.
Oh,
a roll-off.
After the first match, he was so angry. I mean, if he gets a couple in a row, he's going to start fist pumping them and he's going to start yelling. I mean, because he wants it so bad. I mean, and you know, he's such a good player that, I mean, he expected himself to win the event, and you know, out of him that's so possible because he's just, his physical game is so good.
Well, the mental game too. What gets me is look at how fast he's operating. He's thinking ball, choice, line, speed, angle, tilt, and he's making all those decisions, and then he's getting up and he's doing it the way he wants.
You know, when I get up there, I think, okay, relax, get your push away down at the right time. You know, he gets up there and I don't even think he pauses. He just goes. But it's so, you know, once he's a foot taller and 60 pounds heavier, I mean, I think he's like 108 pounds. And he can actually, you know, when he really needs to get the ball to go left to right and really needs to get the 10 out, oh my, he's going to be a player to contend with.
So Young trying to fill some frames and get a rhythm going. There will be a sudden death roll-off for the 5th time today. These are best of 2 finals. In the event the players split the games, there's a sudden death roll-off to determine the winner. You get a point for winning. Aaron Uradovich joins us. He already has a point. He defeated Kamron Doyle earlier in one of those very sudden death matchups, and it went 3 deep.
Yeah, I was really impressed because at the back half of that game, you know, Cameron's ball wasn't going through the pins that well. And he got up and he packs the first one, and I'm like, okay, let me make a good shot. I make a good shot. He gets up there and packs the second one, and I'm like, oh my God, what did he find? And I get up, and I think I threw it really good the second time. I remember that. And then the third time, he got up and packed it again and 4-pinned, and I got up, did everything the same, and it was kind of almost at the line. I kind of just grabbed it a little bit, and I got it in a little bit, and everything fell, thank God, but it could have been 5 or 6 really, really easily.
So 54 is the lead for Doyle. 8th frame now for Young. Young's only got 63 through 5 and a spare up. There's a look at the scoreboard here.
And you know, once you get through about 7 or 8, I'd say about 7 frames, and you're so far behind, you kind of just want to figure something out. I mean, at the end of my game, when Kamron shut me out, he made that split and then he struck. I kind of was at the point where, okay, I got to figure something out. And I went to the pursuit with some shine on it, and I don't know how I found it, and I don't know how it worked. But that's why you got to take every ball you get and try something, because you never know what you could stumble across.
Well, I think Greg is just in the complete wrong zone right now. He just moved zone left, and that wasn't the answer. So I'd like to see him make a move a zone to the right.
I would really like to see, I don't know if he can do it, but I would really like to see him take a big jump right and loft it. Just because when I saw him move right, his ball was coming off the back so hard, it was going sideways off the back. So I'd really like to see him, and even if he doesn't loft it, just get right, because if he misses a little left, it's gone, and if he misses a little right, the ball kind of runs out, and you don't really know if it's going to get the 10 out.
I agree. I think that's the right move, and I think we'll see him do that next time up to test the waters.
Yeah, hopefully, because it all comes down to this, really. And I think now that Kamron, I think he kind of has that little, kind of that spin, and he can kind of spin it to 5. He can spin it to 5. It doesn't hook early. So now for him, it's all about, you know, okay, is he down at the foul line? Is it getting through the pins? You know, and is his hair in the way? I mean, you know, you might see him stop because his hair's in the way. You never know.
Doyle was defeated by this man, Greg Young, 216, 152 in game 1, but Doyle's firing back, and we're going to have another roll-off, 5 for 5 here in our preliminary round matches here, Team Masters Grand Championships.
Yeah, he's a shotgun. I mean, he may have shot a blank the first game, but I don't think this is going to be a blank the second game. I mean, he's on, and he wants to win more than anybody.
Well, he did move right there, guys, and I think he just needs to go a little further right off of that.
And I think off of that shot, it almost looked like it came off his hand really, really fast. Maybe he missed it, or maybe he just threw it really fast. But it looked, I mean, he moved his zone right, but it just looked fast off his hand. And on this pattern, I mean, if you get too fast and it doesn't read the lane at the right time, I mean, this is the hardest pattern. I mean, if you get it too far down the lane, it could 2-8, 10 or wash out, and if you get it left or get slow, it could Greek church or big four.
Kamron Doyle strike up in the 8th, working in the 9th frame. Clean with a turkey and a big lead here. And an almost certain sudden death roll-off to stay alive in the Grand Championships.
That was a really good shot. Wow. And it's kind of funny because they put all the pins on little metal pegs before you throw your shot, so you can't really there's no re-rack button.
Yeah, we saw in one of the girls' matches, I think it was Jessica Davies, her first shot hit the pocket, and they had forgotten to take the pins out.
Oh, the
and
pegs?
The ball hit the 1-3 and knocked the 1-3 out, and the ball went flying. And
yeah, well, we have pin boys down there, and I mean, I would forget probably too. I mean, I heard one shot earlier, somebody dropped a pin in Jacob's approach, and it's like, that stuff happens. I mean, but I saw one shot earlier when I was here that Ashley Dunn, I think she 5-8'd. She left a 5-8, yeah. It's like, man, were the pegs up that time too?
Just on the 5-8.
Gentlemen, Greg Young is already out of wood here, and it's just experimentation time now as we prepare for our 5th sudden death roll-off in 5 matches.
Man, who owes me money on that one?
Nobody would have bet that Greg Young and Kamron Doyle would be the two fighting to stay alive, and it comes down to 1 ball.
And I know I talked to Greg's mom earlier, and she was a nervous wreck, and so is Cameron's mom. So they're pretty much nervous wrecks. So depending on who wins, I mean, we could hear some after the match.
And that'd just be from me. So Doyle's up. The number is academic at this point. I mean, he can go off and shoot 227 here, but he has one, and there will be a sudden death roll-off. So let's watch Doyle work and see what he might be thinking in the roll-off.
I think he's got, a little room. I mean, he can get a little right and it'll mix. So that one, he kind of came up on it and he kind of grabbed it. I mean, he got it in a little, but I think other than getting the ball through the pins, I don't really see him missing. And that's a really hard position to put Greg in because in the last 6 frames, I mean, he's trying stuff, but nothing seems to be working. But I think in the roll-off, I mean, every roll-off we've seen today, it's gone, or at least guys' roll-offs have gone, double 9 or something, It's not, 6, 6, 5, 9 or something.
Well, we asked him earlier, what's your position on leading off or going second in roll-offs, and he didn't even let me finish the question. He says, I'm going first.
I think that it's always, especially for kids, for pros it's different, but for kids, the more pressure you can put on somebody is better. I mean, because a lot of kids can't handle the pressure, but I definitely think that going first in the roll-off and kind of, if you strike, give it a little yeah, because, they're going to see that, and that's just more pressure on them.
So Young finishing up. It's going to be 1-1. Let's see what experimental action he's got here.
Wow. His ball reaction looks really, really bad. I mean, if he throws it really hard to the right, it just kind of hydroplanes a little bit, and if he gets it left, it just hooks. It'll be really interesting to see if he stays with this ball.
Because one of the last roll-offs, Jason, refresh me on which one it was. Both players were lost, then all of a sudden, bam, 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 roll-off.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the Edinger-Greg Young match.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were both lost, and they both 3-bagger.
Right.
It was like.
So I'm wondering, do you perhaps play a little possum and kind of know what you're going to do?
Well, I mean, it's tough because, I mean, at the end of practice when I bowled Doyle threw plastic a couple times just to, kind of get in my head and, what are you doing, But definitely, I mean, just throw it in the gutter once.
And it was funny because he had him on earlier and he mentioned it and he said, it didn't phase you out of it.
No, I mean, I saw him spinning plastic in practice, and I'm like, what are you doing? You know, take your shots. And I mean, it was funny because he had 6 or 7 strikes in a row, and he starts off with a gutter. I mean, my mom even asked me about that. She was like, what was he doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
Mike G on lane side with competitor Team Masters finalist Aaron Uratovich and the bowling guys Jason Thomas. We've got Elise Bolton with us doing sideline reporting, member of Team USA. And we're going to have our 5th sudden death roll-off for a point. And it's a massive roll-off. One bowler will stay alive. Only one.
This could be a really interesting roll-off because I think if Kamron can throw it good and get it there, I don't see him getting any less than 8 or 9. But
our match is tied 1-1, which brings us to sudden death. The bowlers will roll 1 shot until a tie is broken. Kamron Doyle, our number 1 seed from Brentwood, Tennessee, has elected to go first. His opponent, Greg Young from Vieira, Florida, will go second. Good luck to both bowlers. Let's give them a round of applause.
Tournament director Gary Beck, and I think that's the first prediction I've had right all day, that I didn't sense any hesitation that Kamron was going to lead off.
Yeah, I got the option to get to pick between me and him, and I kind of, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. I just went first, but I definitely think that he wanted to. He's thinking about it. He's going to go first if he can.
So let's see which way he leans. Sudden death roll-off to stay alive in the Teen Masters.
Oh, my.
Got away from him. 9 count. Runaway Brooklyn. And now Greg Young.
I actually think that's a pretty good score, guys.
Well, yeah, but, after throwing it good all that game to, fly away Brooklyn, that's a tough place to put him. But this could be really interesting. If Greg pulls it together and strikes, I will be very, very impressed.
Taking a little extra time. Ball in hand. Sudden death roll-off. Monumental bowling ball in the hand of Greg Young. It will determine the fate and the possible championship day for either of these 2 players. Doyle is on the board with a 9. Greg Young strikes to earn a point and send Doyle 0-2. Unfathomable at the start of this event. He Brooklyns and carries it. Greg Young advances in the roll-off. And Kamron Doyle is 0-2.
Wow, that is.
Congratulations to Greg Young from Vieira, Florida. He now stands 1-1 in our tournament. Kamron Doyle follows to 0-2. Up next, we have our girls' 3rd match featuring Ashley Dunn from Palmdale, California. Her opponent will be Jessica Davies from Cape Coral, Florida. They'll be bowling in 5 minutes. Again, these kids are battling for a $64,000 college scholarship. And we do have seats available.
Tournament director Gary Beck previewing our next match. It's Ashley Dunn and Jessica Davies coming up next as you look at the folks here at Grand Central Terminal. And
I think my mouth finally just came back up.
Elise Bolton is heading down lane side to grab Greg Young, and we will wrap up our coverage if we can corral Mr. Young, who stays alive 1-1. And I don't know if you would have found 3 people to find 15 cents to say that Kamron Doyle was going to be 0-2 to kick off this Grand Championships round.
Anything can happen, really. Since it's a new stage, everything changes, but that is the most surprising thing ever. I mean, he threw it good. It's just, sometimes the pins don't fall for you. And, yeah, he's going to be angry for a couple hours. And, hopefully that's something that I've kind of accepted. I mean, I hate to lose, sure. But I accept it when I lose. I learn from why I lost. It's not, oh, I lost, let me go chuck my bowling balls. It's okay, why did I lose? Yeah, it stinks to lose. But as long as you can learn from why you lost, I mean, that's a lot better than just losing.
Time now to go lane side here at Grand Central Terminal with Extra Frames Elise Bolton standing by with Greg Young. Elise.
What did you feel going into that shot?
That shot, I just wanted to stay aggressive and throw it hard, and I didn't hit my target, but I threw it hard. Got fortunate. It's not the way you always want to win,
But you still did. What are you going to do tonight to prepare for tomorrow?
just get a good night rest and come back tomorrow and do something different.
Great. Congratulations. Back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Elise. And Greg Young is 1-1, lives to see another day. And we have another match coming up as we shift over to girls action continuing here in the Teen Masters at Grand Central Terminal. Aaron Uradovich, thanks for stopping by. The next time we'll see you, my friend, is on the lanes.
Yeah, hopefully a couple of those breaks have stayed, because I'd really like to get out of this train station with 2-0.
Well, Aaron, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you coming up at 7 o'clock taking on Jacob Edinger. And that'll wrap things up for us here. Coming up next, girls division, as we continue our best of 2 matches at the Teen Masters. For Jason Thomas and Elise Bolton, this is Mike J. Laneside inviting you back to Grand Central Terminal for our next matchup, as Ashley Dunn is getting ready to face Jessica Davies. We'll see you back here in New York City.